Hey, welcome back to another episode of Imagine More. It's Jesse and Seth once again back. I'm here at my office, which is a different scenery, and it's a different time, which is usually a late night show, but tonight I had to do it a little bit earlier, and so Seth was like, "Yeah, let's just do it early," and so we're glad that you guys back. Another episode. We missed you guys last week, and we're going to go over some crazy topics for the last 2 weeks and figure out where we're at in politics, and I look forward to having a great show. What about you, Seth?
I'm glad to be back too. I think we got to start regularly scheduling these. We got to cover a lot more things more often because of the election coming up. We got two
Yeah,
months left, like 60 something days, and then that's well, I was gonna say that's it, but we all know that's not the end of it.
yeah,
We all
of
know he's
course.
gonna take it till January. We're gonna have to be crossing our fingers for a few more months after that too. We'll see what happens, but we're gonna win this thing.
Yeah,
It's pretty
okay.
pretty apparent at this point.
Yeah.
There's no numbers in his favor. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I mean, it's just a matter of making sure that you know Vice President Harris gets out those votes, and those votes come out for her and get her elected. Which, like, if Democrats all vote, we win. So that's always been the mantra, and that's a very true statement. And so I think that she's going to definitely be very formidable for Trump. I'm really excited about the upcoming debate, though. I think the debate is going to set the game plan going forward. So I'm looking forward to that. I know that's September, was it 9th, Seth?
I was just
The
gonna
debate?
ask. You know better than me because I was like, did they actually agree on it? Because I kept waiting on them to
Yeah,
back out, and then it just never happened because Trump can't put aside his ego, and Harris is not gonna go on Fox News. So
yeah, which is kind of crazy why she wouldn't do it. That'd be a great opportunity to
I don't
get the
know.
right. You don't think
They
so?
would just they would no. I mean, they'd just have a right wing moderator, and it would just be like right wing questions that blah 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 border crisis blah 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 blah. And
Yeah,
I don't think it would be very helpful because she would just have to be on the defensive the whole time.
that's very, very true. She would be on the defensive the whole time. But I think that it would, if she can hold her own, then it would essentially make her look good among at least the moderate Republicans who are voting for Trump. You're never going to win the conservative vote, or you're never going to win the Trump vote, which is about 35% of the Republican Party. So that gives you like a third, 35% of people who might vote for you. And if you have a good showing, getting drilled, then that would be that would kill Trump, and that would effectively in his campaign. So I don't know. I just think that it would have been good for her, but I'm not a pundit and I'm not her polling strategist.
I mean, you're
So
kind of a pundit.
yeah, I'm a pundit because I'm making an opinion, but
Yeah.
I'm a pundit without facts. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the data is showing her and why she's avoiding certain debates. And Trump avoids debates too. Don't make it seem like I don't want people to think it's just
No, neither of them are. I mean, this is all
everyone does.
strategic. Debates are only strategic. Even Trump
Yeah,
knows that, uh, you know, he actually probably should not have debated at all against Joe Biden in
yep,
hindsight,
yeah,
because that's directly what led to Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden. Joe Biden would have lost guaranteed if he just never debated.
hmm
He would just
and
shown up and
both
lost.
debates. Not
Yeah,
only this
exactly.
one in 2024, but also in 2020. If he didn't debate Biden, he probably would have won. But
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where it's like it's a calculated on both sides, and that's why I think they went back and forth for a long time to try to actually get this scheduled because they know this one's kind of the big one. This one's going to decide most people votes. Not to sound
Yeah.
so like,
Well, all the undecided voters, which is like 12, 15%,
yeah, that's gonna
which
and it's gonna come down to that, right?
I don't think it's going to come down to undecided voters. I think it comes down to turnout. It always has. Like you were saying in the beginning, when Democrats vote, Democrats uh, win. I mean, that's why Republicans' entire message is on anti-democracy. It's on suppressing vote. Oh, they're literally tweeting dumb shit. Elon Musk is responding to it, like about illegal immigrants voting, and like Democrats refuse to stop the illegal immigrants. It's like no, there's nobody to stop from voting that are illegally immigrated here. So there's no reason to put some sort of efforts forward. That's what they don't understand. It's like we're not going to play in your fantasy game just to
No.
just play the defensive. You know what I mean? Because we're
Yeah.
going the defensive to something that's completely made up.
Yeah, something like voter ID laws and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no illegal immigrants voting for Democrats. There's just more people that are vote for Democrats. So that's what their fear is. That's the entire reason for the border policies on their end, is because they think it's just future Democratic voters going to come take away their rights, kind of thing. Because they think Democrats are evil authoritarians, and they just need to recruit all these non-white people from the rest of the world to come in and vote for them. That's like the grand conspiracy theory.
Well, that is, I think his Trump supporters are very into that theory because that, when you're a Trump voter is one of those people where it's like, I don't have a solution to my problem. I can't find a solution to my problem, but this guy sounds like he has a solution, right? So that's kind of who the Trump voter is, because they're people who can't figure out what's the next step for them, and they rely on a strong man to guide them to the next step. So what happens when I look at, you know, strategy wise, what Vice President Harris has to do is she has to kind of focus more so much on how do I talk to that? How can I be that strong man or woman, excuse me, strong woman to these disenfranchised voter Trump supporters? And she probably might not do it. And she probably don't need to waste her time to try to do it because, to be honest with you, they may never see her in that light. The problem what she needs to focus on is that 35% Republicans who are moderate. And she's been doing a very good job of trying to get those people to support her. Um, and I just think that she needs to just continue to do that work. And the debate is going to solidify the thought process of who both people think they are. I mean, Trump already has his people. He already has in people's mind who he is. Like he's already been established, his character, his personality, his political, who he is publicly. Vice President Harris has the problem where she does not have that yet. She's lacking in that character. Who am I? Characteristic.
She is,
and so
the only to gain or lose by like showing
yes.
herself.
So she has the most
really,
to gain by
going to affect that. There's nothing like
if you're breaking up.
Nobody's going to change their mind on Trump at this point.
Exactly. So you're breaking up though. You're pixelating. You're pixelating.
Still in?
Not picture wise, audio wise.
Okay. You hear me now?
I can hear you, but it just sounds digitalized.
Okay, well you just talk.
It's like okay. Oh, okay. Well, sure. As we get that one. Yeah, so she has more to gain or lose from this debate. She has to not one come off strong, but she has to show who she is in 3 hours or 2 hours, however long it is. And she has the most to gain because people can then perceive her based on this debate. If she comes off looking weak, she can come off looking a lot of people won't respect that. But she comes off looking strong, and he just comes off doing the same old rhetoric that he always does. It's just name calling. That can be an opportunity for her to actually kill him. It'd be over. Because people will look like, okay, she's strong enough, she's capable enough, and we really don't like him. Because that's the thing about Trump. People don't like him. Like his 35% of supporters are the ones who like him. 65% of the country does not like him. So, but what we underestimate is that 35% of the 65% will vote for him anyway. Just so that's the 35% she needs to go after. The people that don't like him, but just they're not just going to blindly vote for anybody. They're going to think about it, and she just needs to come off showing that she's competent. She can run the country, and then she'll win. But if she comes out looking inexperienced, getting grilled, can't respond or deflect or do anything that shows a sign of like you're not ready for the big times, I think it would do the most damage to her campaign. She might not be able to recover. So this debate is kind of like the make or break debate for, at least in my opinion.
I think something else about it. Okay, let me know. I think something else that we talked about earlier was
It's still
still there.
going. Yeah, it's pixelating.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe if I just unplug this, though, is my audio completely different now, or is it connection problem?
It's still a bad connection.
That's,
Right now. What now?
Can you hear me now?
Right.
Is everything fine?
So while we're working on that, less glitchy. It's less glitchy.
Okay.
All right. So we're working on that. So yeah, so I think that that's essentially what's the problem is we have to get we have to understand that this debate is about 35% and making sure that we connect with those who want this competent leadership without the name calling. Like I said earlier, we're never going to be able to convert Trump voters. They love the strong man. That's who they're going to vote for. You're not going to convince the Tea Party people because they don't. They want us to go back to 1800s. And so you're just anything that you say that's remotely progressive is like it's a non-starter for them. So you really only have 35% of the vote that you're going after. And you have to she has to find a way to connect and talk to them. And I think she's doing a good job. But it's always great when you're not being punched. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like a phrase like everyone's strong until someone punches them in the face. And then you wonder, do you see who their character are? Or another way of saying it is everyone is great until they fail. And then once they fail, their character defines who they are. So I think for her, she has to show that one, she's not going to fail at the position. She's going to know she has to know what she's talking about. And Trump's biggest thing is going to make it seem like she's going to fail because she doesn't know what she's doing. But she's incompetent. And she has to say, no, I'm very competent. You're just an asshole. And you don't know how to, articulate yourself. And you're just, that's how she has to label him. As a guy who's just an asshole, who just likes to talk, but he has no substance and he's not going to be able to really control the White House correctly. And that's her job and that's her objective. And if she does it, she's going to win in a landslide. She doesn't, she's going to lose. And so I really hope that, her team is prepping her. I know they're prepping her, but I just hope that they have that sense of urgency to know that this debate is going to make and break them, just like the last debate made and break Biden. Because the problem is, we as progressives and Democrats, the problem is we're still trying to frame our message. And our message has always been hijacked by the Republicans. And we're trying to frame it so it gives us more room for error. Versus Trump is who Trump is. His message is who his message is. Ours is still trying to be defined. And what happened is Biden couldn't define it. He looked incompetent, even though he's not, but he looked like that during the debate. And the rumor mill is she's incompetent. But no one can really, there's no facts to support that, It's just a rumor. So the debate is going to solidify once again, like it solidified with Biden, are the rumors true? And if she just knocks it out of the ballpark, guess what? The rumors were false, and she's going to win the presidency. If she looks like she doesn't really know what she's doing or what she's talking about, she's going to lose. Because that's the danger of um, being elected the way she got elected.
Yeah.
Because people, yeah, because now people are like, okay, everyone's saying you're great. So prove to me why you're great. Why is everyone saying that about you? And so that's the danger of that. And because the expectation now is so high, it's like it's going to be a lot. And I hope she's going to rise to the occasion. We know she is, but the expectation is still pretty high. Someone like Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all the people that passed before had a primary to fail, to succeed, to fail, to succeed, and it built their character. It's like she has 2 months and she can't fail in any point of these 2 months because she has no way to rebound. She doesn't have enough time to rebound. And so the task is great, but I think that she can rise to it. The occasion, she's, from my understanding, she's gone from a state attorney to a United States senator to vice president. So she's more than capable of rising to the occasion. But we have to understand that this debate is extremely important for the Democratic Party. It's just this.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's your microphone doing?
We'll find out. I think that a lot of talking points include the bed.
It's doing it again.
Yeah,
you guys gonna hear a lot from me until we get this worked out and fixed.
I don't know what I sound like, so I don't know how bad it is.
We'll see when we play it back, but let's try to push through it.
Well, I think that Tim Walz, a lot of them are trying to portray Tim Walz being like covering her up by them always appearing together.
Yeah.
So having her alone can be an interesting display for her campaign.
Yeah, one of the best decisions I thought she ever made was Tim Walz. And I kid you not, guys, I am not a hypocrite. I am 100% not a hypocrite. I was like, no way in heck you're going to get a guy from Minnesota and kind of convince me that this guy is going to be a vice president from Minnesota. Seth called me out on that. Seth was like, no, he's a really good guy. Seth was like, this guy's going to be really great. And Kamala Harris picked him, and I have to admit with Seth that so far he's been great. He's been that personality she needed to inject. And I think that I think that he gave her, there's that yin and yang theory going on, right? Where she has these great leadership qualities and she's very educated, but then there's some deficiencies in that personality. And I'm just being honest with the situation. And I think he covers up a lot of the deficiencies in that. And he's able to articulate an emotional message where we can connect with, and I think that was brilliant on her part. It tells you how smart of a leader she is to put someone in that position to handle that point for her. So I definitely think she is very smart about that. So like I was saying, the debates is super important. And I think one of the most important things in that debate is going to be the economy. Right now, inflation is doing very, very well. We're doing a very good job. Joe Biden's gotten our inflation down. And somehow, magically, he was able to do his campaign promises, and fix inflation. Something that most people say he couldn't do, which he did. So we have to put a clap for President Biden for getting that done. But now we move on because he's gone. He's going to be gone by the end of the year, right? In January. And so what is the new economic vision going forward? And I think that Trump today came out with his economic vision. And I'll go quickly over them. Seth, how's the mic going?
Probably not much different. It's an internet thing on a mic thing, right?
It's the internet?
Well, I think so. It
seems
like it's glitching or something, right? Is it glitching or something?
Yeah, it's glitching and it's speeding you up.
Is it speeding me up?
It's kind of weird, but
am I just talking fast?
No, it's speeding you up. No, you talk. Yeah, it's like you normally talk, but it's just speeding you up on the system. I don't know why.
It's okay. I can just
all right. So
make clips around it. I'm just gonna make clips around you talking instead. It'll be fine.
Okay. All right. You'll see. Okay. So this is economic agenda by Trump. He did 5 different areas he wanted to touch in his new what he believes is going to be his new administration. He wants to do more tariffs and tax cuts. He wants to create a commission led by Elon Musk for government efficiencies. He wants to rescind signature Biden laws. I don't know what that means. And he wants to roll back environmental regulations, and he wants to do an immigration crackdown framed as economic proposal. Don't know what that means, but apparently he said African American and Hispanic American jobs under massive threats from the invasion taking place at our border. And this is his economic agenda. And Vice President Harris, she's talked about the opposite. She wants to continue what Joe Biden has done, and I think she also announced that she wanted to do a child tax credit, a newborn tax credit, which was $6,000, I believe. And she also promised to cap. Well, she's going to raise the capital gains tax rate, but not as much as Joe Biden was calling for, which is a good thing. She wants bigger tax deduction for small businesses. She wants to cut red tape for small businesses, and she wants to ban price gouging, which is all very similar. I think what her biggest strength, I think she's really tackling, which I think is really good, is small business. If you look at most of American jobs, they're small business, and that's more of the blue collar voter is the small business owner, and many of the middle class is built small business owners, and I think that's smart for us to start shifting that narrative to saying like, hey, we want to focus on small business. That is something the Republicans have always tried. Well, they've always sold. They've always been about small businesses, right? So what's happening now that Trump's taken over the Republican Party, they've shifted the narrative from small businesses to big business, and to increase tariffs, and to reduce taxes, and to do everything that we can to make us focus more on a national business structure and how to support those national businesses. And the Republicans are secretly leaving the small business owners behind because just the way Trump's agenda is set up. And so I think this is an opportunity for her and her economic agenda to address those small business people who feel left behind. Because when you look at some of the initiatives that Trump has passed, they've helped the 1%, but the 1% are a big corp. They're tech guys, they're oil guys, they're big industry guys, telecommunication, and small businesses. Now, these are get your dry cleaning, go get your meal when you come home from work, go, this is a middle class guy or woman. And I feel like that is a narrative we can shift on the Republicans, because it will bring back a lot of those, like I said earlier, the 35% of those moderate Republicans, and because they tend to be in that realm of small business owners. And I think that is smart on her part to try to regrow that branding inside the Democratic Party. I know we've been pushing towards unionization as the rebranding under Joe Biden, but I think that the small business rebranding, it's amazing because it's small businesses has the most amount of diversity, from blacks to whites to Hispanic and Latinos. Those are majority of your base of small business owners. And if we start focusing more on economic prosperity, economic capital funding, economic economic policies that strengthen their businesses, then guess what? You effectively now entered into the middle class, and also effective care and policies that help even the people who are not in the middle class, who are trying to who are trying to get into the middle class. You help those people. So I think that it's a beautiful thing why she shifts her agenda to focus on that, because I think as a party, we've economically, if it kind of taken couple steps back, like, and really focus on some of these social programs to help, like student loan debt. A lot of these, which was very needed, because those things haven't been addressed enough, like student loan debt, infrastructure bills. All those things are something that need to be addressed for over 20 years ago. And President Biden finally addressed those issues, which is great. But now, going forward, what's the economic of the future? The economic of the future is the middle class, is the small business owners. Because as AI grows and we get to more, I guess, a very AI centric economy, you're going to a lot of workers are going to be going to lose their jobs on the national level, and who's going to be there to help pick that up? And it's going to be small businesses to pick up those employees, retrain them, and put them into their businesses to provide them with support. So I think in the next 10, 20 years, her agenda, her policies will essentially help us as Americans move forward to the next economy. We've all, if anyone who studied economy, and I'm not a novice, I'm not an expert in economy. I took economics, microeconomics, and microeconomics. Shout out to those professors, but that's about as much economics I can tell you guys. But I can tell you that um, if you look at the economics of the future, every country and every country loses its status based on the way the economic wave is going. We had the Industrial Revolution, which gave our strength. Then we had the military revolution, I call it, during World War II and after World War II, which created a lot of jobs and a lot of private sector jobs and a lot of just big defense contract spending, which create so that was the economy of that time. And then we get into the baby boomers era. You have the automobiles picks up, so it creates the auto industry. And we have that market, and then we have the '80s when you have the tech economy that came in, which started infant, and then you had the big oil, who's always been there for the last
Yeah.
100 years. Economy, yeah, all those economies we've led as America, and all those major economic shifts. And now we're talking 2020. The new economics is AI, artificial intelligence. That's going to be the new economics, and jobs and everything's going to be impacted by that. That's going to be our new economy. So it's going to be more incentivized for small business owners to essentially be employed. It's not going to be in traditional economy like people think, like with their mom and dad. You go apply for a job, and then you go for an interview, and then once you get that interview, you pray, you do whatever you can to get that job, and you get a paycheck. It's not going to be that economy anymore. Now our economy is going to be, I have the skill that I learned, and you need it, so I have to market you the skill, and then I have to. It's weird because I have to now market you the skill so you can see my skills, and then you hire me to
Yeah.
do a job. We saw this with social
Like
media when the
self-marketing.
YouTubers. Self marketing is going to be the new thing. It's going to be a new wave. So really, what's going to happen is you're going to have all these jobs that are going to be small businesses, right? I think your mic's working now, so
Yeah, I think I switched an outlet. Does it sound normal now, or is it back to
yeah,
the
it's still a little glitchy. Yeah, it's still glitchy.
if I
It
short
sounded good
concise
for a second.
statements work? Like two
Short,
yeah,
concise
like two or three
statements, yes, works.
words.
Yeah, two
Uh,
or three words. Exactly. Got to write down a number. So so as we move towards a market of small business owners, that is going to what's going to drive the economy of the next 10, 20 years. Because what's going to be what employers are looking for, not well, at least in my opinion, they're not looking for people who can do like a skill like typing or a skill like a traditional skill. They're looking for someone who's a creator, and that creator is going to be who gets hired in this next economy. And so that is going. I think it's wise on her part to put the focus on the next future. What the future is going to be. The future is going to essentially be creating a creator economy, which is equivalent to a small business economy. And so for me, I think that's brilliant. I think that's a sharp contrast for what Trump has, which is more focused on big corporate tax rates and tariffs. Because, yeah, you can give tax rates to. Here's a fallacy that a lot of people don't understand, and I am talking way more than I'm normally used to talking, as you guys can see.
Good practice.
Um, uh, yeah. So here's the fallacy that comes with Trump's economic agenda. His fallacy is that he gives a tax rate to the upper 1% to the biggest corporations. But what happens is when he does that, the Reaganomics that principle applied to no longer is valid because he's negating the fact that it's trickle down. The whole idea is trickle down economics. So if you give tax breaks to the 1% or the corporations, will flow money down to the poorer class or the lower classes. The problem with that fallacy is AI is disrupting that model because if I give, for example, Apple, but this is not exclusive to Apple, this is any big corporation. If I get someone like Apple and I give him a tax break, right? At let's say I reduce his tax rate by 5-10%, the money in theory should trickle down to all Apple's workers or make lower products. So iPhones should cost you less, right? That's the theory. So what ended up happening is now that AI is coming to fruition, Apple sees it as well. Okay, well, why trickle the money down where we can lay off 50 people because we have an AI program who can do 50 of their jobs? And what happens is now that money's not trickling down, those people are unemployed, but Apple still gets the tax rate. So what you're doing, you're giving Apple massive profits unattended because trickle down economics is supposed to go down, but you're not understanding there's disruption in the business community, and that disruption is going to cause that money not to flow down because they don't need as many workers to do the same job anymore. So the real economic issue is how do we find those workers and employ new skills? Because what's going to happen is they're going to be out of work. And so how do we transition them into a small business mindset to be like, hey, instead of working for Apple, why don't you develop your own app and then use that app, and then sell it to Apple? It has to be a fundamental shift in the thinking of, we need to be more startups in the country versus there being more workers. And that is a fundamental shift. And that's why triple economic, that's why I don't think it's going to work anymore. It never really
Yeah.
worked, but it had some successes. So I can't say it's a total failure, but the little successes that it did have, it barely worked. But it's definitely not going to work now because now you're going to have workers who are no longer employable because they're being replaced by a computer. And we've talked about this on the show all the time, where AI is going to come and replace pretty much 60% of the jobs in
At
America.
least the
And
ones that
so what's
currently
going to
exist.
happen is, yeah, the current ones, yeah. And they're going to create jobs. I'm not going to say it's not, but those jobs are going to be creator
Mhm.
content based. It's like they're going to be into creativity. Can you develop a show? Can you develop music? Can you develop this? Can you develop that? Can you develop this? And the key word there is develop. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to need to have more small business skills to be able to develop a baby company to be able to sell it. One of the things that I saw recently, a couple years, there's been a resurgence in maid services in America. No one really talks about it, but there's a resurgence of it.
Mm.
What happens is there's a lot of people, 2 or 3 people, that will get together and they're like, okay, we're gonna do a maid service. We're all gonna be business partners, the three of us, and we're gonna share it. We're gonna charge this person, I don't know, $200 to clean his house. But the three of us, we clean it. We'll be done in an hour. So we're making between the three of us probably like, I don't know, $70. We do that 8 hours a day, then we made a working wage.
Mhm.
But that's what I'm saying. So the mindset has changed. It's like before, you have to call a company, and then a company will send someone out there, and it'll be hours.
You know what
And
that
this
sounds
is
like?
very elitist. But
The business
what?
you described sounds like a
What?
co-op.
Yeah, it sounds like a co-op. Yeah, it's exactly. So more and more, you see, that's exactly what you said. So co-ops, that's what's happening. Is like we're gonna have more and more businesses that are going to be created, and thinking forward, like Ms. Harris, Vice President Harris, that's the way we need to be investing. How do we invest in these people's ideas? Because that's the economy of the future. It's not going to be big corp creating jobs like it used to be.
Hmm.
It's going to be big corp going into this business. Like, we want to hire you to do this particular thing
Yeah.
here. Because, and
Contractors.
contractors, we're going into the world of contractors, and it's becoming to the point where it's going to happen so fast, a lot of people don't see
Hmm.
it coming, but it's already here. Most people, I know when I went to law school, it was very different dreams. Like, people in law school wanted to work for big law firms, make $100,000 a year. Like, that's kind of the dream of a lawyer, right? But what happens is that's not realistic. It's more realistic to make $100,000 opening your own business as a law firm than you would if you would go work for a big law, because big law is going to pay you like 50,000. Because guess what, you're
Yeah.
replaceable. But so, and that's what's happening. And the AI is disrupting the legal world too. And I only can speak about it because I'm in the legal world. But a lot of jobs are going to be replaced in the legal world. Like, legal secretaries are really non-existent anymore, and we're going to have maybe paralegals, but AI can write most of the letters that we do. So really, you're looking at most firms just need an attorney and one paralegal can operate a full firm. You know, and same thing with doctors' offices. They have usually 4 or 5 doctors. You don't really need that anymore because the AI can schedule your appointments, can tell you when to come in, set your Zoom meetings. You don't need a scheduler. So what you need is just a doctor and an assistant. And so that's 4 or 5 jobs that's gone. 4 or 5 jobs gone. How can these people be more employable? That's what Vice President Harris wants to address. She wants to address creating business loans, giving business loans to those people so they can create a new job. Because think about it. If you've been a paralegal for 20 years, you know all the pitfalls of being a paralegal. So you can create something where you can turn back and tell the firm, like, hey, I know you don't like doing this, but we can do it for this amount of dollars. And you'll make way more money. And you don't have to worry about the liability of paying for healthcare and all this other stuff, obviously, because we have Obamacare. So those are the things that I think that she's focused on in the economy. And I'm talking about the economy such a long time because at the end of the day, guys, anyone you ask, any pollster you ask, any Republican, Democrat, they always tell you every election, it always comes down to the economy. If the economy is bad, people feel like it's bad, they're going to vote you out. If they feel like it's good and they're surviving in it, they're going to keep you in. That's number one rule in politics. It's all about the economy. It's always going to be about the economy when it comes down to voting in presidential elections. And so I say that to say that I really, really hope that she does well. She focuses on her plan, her small business plan, and she really shows a light to Trump that, hey, your economic agenda is archaic. Like, you're talking about things like raising tariffs on China. And it's like, well, that's great, but do we really care if our stuff is made in China? We really don't. Most people don't because it's cheap. Most people, what they care about is American jobs. Like, that's the whole thing. It's like, well, if the Chinese people are doing it, then where's my job? And but that's the problem. We never really address that issue. It's like, okay, well, what are you good at, and what can we turn into a business? Because at the end of the day, that is the economy of the future. And I'm not saying that everybody here is going to be the next Warren Buffett or Steve Jobs. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have to start emphasizing skills and less process.
Mhm.
Because I went to law school. I went to college. So, I didn't do it right away either. I was in the military. I was in the Marine Corps. I worked at a pizza job. I did other stuff before I went to college and went to law school. You know, so my path ended up that direction, but I still took many ways before I got there. So everyone's path doesn't have to be college, but everyone's path needs to be about workable skills that can work in the industry. Because college just shows you that you can pay attention and that's it. It's like you can pay attention, you can follow directions, pat on the back, good job, you got a degree. But what really matters is skills in business. And so what I think we need to do is we need to move back to not necessarily trades of the traditional
Mhm.
sense. I think that we need to move back to trades in a new sense where it's like when by the time you graduate high school, how many skills have you acquired while you're in
Yeah.
high school?
More versatility.
Like how many more versatility. It's not so much that you can follow my directions. It's much so how many problems can you solve
Mhm.
if I give you a set of problems? And that's where we should be shifting. I think, in my personal opinion, we should be shifting our education system to value that problem solving.
Yeah.
By the time you're in high school, you should be able to problem solve whatever field that you're in. And most people they don't get that skill in a college setting because it's not that's not what college is for, and that's not what high school is for. High school and college, their agenda is to make sure that you're a follower. To
Mhm.
make sure that you understand the rules. You know, here's Einstein theory of relativity. Make sure you memorize it, and then I'm going to test you on it, and that's cool. You know, when you look at what people are employing, they don't employ rote memorization. They employ people who can take that memorization and apply it.
Mhm.
It's the application of that information. It's not the information. So what I think is goes tailored back to my economic thing that I was telling about Kamala Harris is we have to revisit the education system because the education system is the backbone of anything that we're trying to do as a country. China knows this, and most countries know this, and so that's why they try to attack it the most. And so for us, we have to go about it and say, how many skills are people really coming out of school learning? Because that's what there's not that many skills. When you have an iPad who can do your math, who can tell you your English, you have an iPad that can tell you how to do math, how to do English, how to read, because it reads for you if you wanted to. And it's like, guess what? You lost the ability to count in your head. You lost the ability to write an essay. You lost the ability to even read to understanding. So if you lost all these skills, but what are you gaining? You've gained zero skills in that process. You learn how to write a message, but you don't know how to spell the word
Mhm.
because you write WYD,
Or it's autocorrect.
but you don't know what that even. Oh, autocorrect
Yeah.
it. So you're losing. So as a country, technology is great and it's necessary, but what happens is, what skills are we replacing when the technology does it? And that's where our I think our federal government, our state governments, that's what they're failing us because I think they just don't understand the real problem. Oh, I take that back. They do understand the real problem, but they're paid by lobbyists not to talk about the real problem. And
Yeah.
so, because you got to think, most corporations, they have this twofold agenda. Corporations want to keep their low wages. They don't want to increase wages. And so the more skills you have, the more they have to pay you. So they don't want that. And they want to also, show profitability. And so for them, they want you to buy the products. It's like if that's just the name of the game. It's like I want you. It's like internet. They'll sell 2 terabytes of internet for you for like 50
Mhm.
bucks, and they were like, "Yeah, this is the fastest internet possible. 2 terabytes. You're gonna get the best of the best." And you're like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. 2 terabytes internet. I'm gonna be able to surf all night. I'm gonna be able to do all this stuff. It's awesome." And then you look at your device that you buy, it only can accept 100 gigabytes. So you have 2 terabyte worth of
Yeah.
internet, but your device can even accept 100 gigabytes. And sorry for people who don't know the difference, terabytes and gigabytes. Terabytes are way more than gigabytes,
Way more.
and just for
Like
people who
millions
don't know, way more. And so you're,
between difference between millions and billions.
huh?
Like the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, billions and billions. Yeah, and so what happens is you're buying a product, the company's making this profitability, but did you gain anything from that? Can you do anything more than what you could have did before that? And that's what the problem is. It's a two problem that we a two so it's two problems that the only solution you can really come up with is picking one. What are you picking? Are you going to pick building the skill level up, or are you going to build not being profitable? And I'm telling you right now, America's a capitalist society. So they're going to always pick profits. They're not going to pick the worker because it's not in the best interest for them to pick the worker. And it's for us, the workers, to figure out how to make it their best interest. Which brings me to the whole COVID. COVID was, scary for a lot of people, but it presented an opportunity for workers to have some rights back because workers started thinking like, hey, if you can make me stay home to do work, why do I drive 4 hours this way, or excuse me, an hour that way and back, and lose an hour of my day and spend my gas money when I can just do the same job on a laptop? It's my skills are still the same skills. I haven't changed my skills. The medium in which I do them is different, but the skill is still the same. And so it gave workers the ability to work from home. And companies didn't like it, but they were forced to because they had COVID restrictions and they couldn't put people to work. And so it's for us to be more knowledgeable about, okay, what skills that we have that the corporations need that we can use as our bargaining chip. Because right now, the corporation's only objective is to make sure that there's very little skills coming out of school, there's very little skills coming out of high school, and there's no incentive to teach more skills because they want to keep the wages down. And they rather just get a computer, build that computer, and tell that computer to do something because excuse me, the computer doesn't cost them any more than a worker would once he gains a new skill. You tell a computer to do this, it's a gain a new skill, but I can still pay the same thing versus a worker. If they get a new skill, then guess what? I have to pay you more. And so the business world is kind of the problem, and our government is supposed to be there to stop them from doing this stuff. I mean, that's why I'm one of the few Republicans I like is Theodore Roosevelt because he kind of talked about this. Yeah, and Theodore Roosevelt was very serious about corporations having too much power. Same thing what happened to Dwight D. Eisenhower. He was talking about the military-industrial complex, but what he really was saying that defense spending and defense contractors have too much power. The reason why, and their biggest fear of that is the reason the more power they have, the more they have the ability to control little things like school, little things like education, little things like workers' rights. And the way they sway that is they start buying lobbyists and they start buying politicians to be like, yeah, we don't want that policy. We want this policy. We don't want that policy. We want this policy. So that's what Theodore Roosevelt and Dwight Eisenhower tried to warn us about. Even though we're Republican, they were trying to warn us that these people have too much power, and their power is to make sure that you don't ever come up from your situation and your skills. And so that's why there's a long-winded answer of saying that I think Camilla is doing a great thing by trying to reinvest in small businesses. because she's trying to bring the money and the investment back to workers. And it's up to us as workers to now start to establish what skills can we bring to the market to give us better bargaining power. And so I think that with there, she's doing a very good job in that sense.
I agree.
Like, so
No, that was you were just cooking, so I just let you go with it. But
yeah,
is my
yeah.
audio just as bad
So
as always?
yeah,
Yep. What are you gonna do? Well, we're doing great. We'll just
yeah. I don't know how this guy is on the congressman. They go and do these nonstop. What's it called
monologue.
when they all get together? Well, the monologue, but it's something that they want to when they want. It's like a bill they don't want to go
Oh,
through.
filibuster.
They do like a all night filibuster. Yeah, thank you. That's the word. They do an all night filibuster, and they'll talk about whatever for an hour. And I'm like, man, you guys have really good stamina, just talking for an hour. You know, I mean, I could talk, but an hour it gets to the point where you're like, yeah, I need someone to
Yeah,
dialogue back because I'm talking to myself, and that's just a little weird. you know,
it's good practice.
so it is good practice. If I ever want to filibuster one day, it's like, hey, I sat here and I talked.
I
You
would love
know,
to pitch in, but you know, I can't.
you are pitching in with the two
Yep.
words. The two words are
2
getting there.
words.
What was it? Two words. That's it. But yeah, so I mean, that's my spiel for this week, guys. I just want us to kind of focus in on, you know, what's important in these next couple of weeks and what we have to accomplish. And I'm very serious. I have a very serious tone because we cannot elect Donald Trump again. It would. I'm not going to use the same cliche things that Democrats says. It's the election of our lifetime. I'm not going to say that, but
So
what I'm going to
far,
say, it's one of the so far. But yeah, it's a little overkill. I would say it's a step. This election is one the step to the next direction of our country. The next movement, and we have to understand that this country moves slow. And I always tell this to my clients when they're talking to me, and they're like, "Man, I want my money, and I want it like next week." And you're like, "Yeah, that doesn't work like that." You see that judge over there? I have 80 cases. Me as a lawyer, she has 1,000
yeah,
cases. That's so you're one of the 1,000, and so we're gonna be here for a while. And I always tell them like, you got to plan for 18 months because that's how long it takes
yeah,
usually. And so that's our politics too. Our politics doesn't change overnight. I mean, I know politics get grilled all the time because they make a whole bunch of promises and they probably deliver none and maybe one if they're lucky, right?
yeah,
And it's so when I look at Vice President Harris, I think she can get one thing done that would be a success. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of our politics. And and my thing is, what's that one thing? What's that one step that we need her to take to get us to the next generation? Because I mean, I am 30. How old am I? I'm
34,
so old. I don't know
34,
my
35.
age. Yeah, I was born in '87, so I'll be 37 this year.
37.
Yeah, I'll be 37.
Whoo!
Yeah,
Years went
yeah,
by.
they're going by
I
fast.
remember
Yeah, so I'll
34.
be 37. You remember I was
I
34?
knew when you were 34.
Yeah, yes, you did know when I was 34. Yeah, I'm be
Wow.
37, and so you know the next. I mean, I'm not saying I'm completely done. I'm like still young, not as young, but I'm still young, and I just see that it's my job now. I'm that middle person. because you got to face it, the baby boomers and those people, they're very selfish. They're always focused on me, 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 me. That's just the baby boomers, and our generation, which is millennials, um, we're a little more of the, hey, I have kids and I want to leave something for them, you know, and then so we're always focusing. You guys know I have a son, so now my focus has shifted to like, okay, what am I leaving him? Am I going to leave him a country where it's like it's back to me, me, me? Because at the end of the day, that hasn't worked. We're still the greatest country in the world, but what does that mean? Is that the objective? Is for us to be the number one country in the world, or is the objective is to make sure that no one goes home, hungry, or there's no homeless in the street. There's veterans who have the means to take care of themselves when they get out of service. To me, that is the standard barrier. It's not the fact that we can just say we're number one. The point of America is we are the leaders in everything. And in order to be a leader, you must try different things to get to the ultimate goal. And so I think that our country so far has been focused on, well, we're number one, but we haven't focused on what are we trying to do to be the ultimate society. And to be the ultimate society is for us to make sure there's no homeless people, make sure we have a education system, make sure that we don't result to killing each other with bombs and weapons of mass destruction, to make sure that we have, in my opinion, a stable world where the environment's not attacked, or you know what are we doing to be sustainable for generations to come. And so that's, to me, is leadership. And we're not perfect, we're going to fail, like every country's fail, but are we still taking the steps necessary, the one step every generation, to push us to the next goal? And that's all I ask for, Vice President Harris. Just take us one more step to the next generation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a natural conclusion.
So, guys, yes, and I'm concluding today's podcast because it'd be very hard to continue on without Seth. We probably have to make up this podcast because Seth's mic didn't work, and we'll make sure we test that before we go live
Yeah.
again. But we want to thank you guys for coming in this week. We didn't want to leave you guys with another episode, um, with another week without hearing from us, especially going to debate. We're gonna figure out how we're gonna do the debate. Maybe a live react. Maybe we can talk about doing a live post show of the debate.
We could do that.
Which, yeah, I did. We didn't really want to do the DNC thing because that was like every day there was a different speech, and every day the news shifted,
Mhm.
so it was a little bit hard to
Too
do
much.
that. But this one's the one. Yeah, it's one event. It's going to be one debate, and we're going to give our live feedback. And I'm pretty sure you guys should tune in. And I think it's Tuesday, right? The debate. Tuesday's the debate, and so we want to hear from you guys. So we look forward to seeing you guys, and I hope you imagine more. Seth, you want to say your 2 words?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I couldn't think of anything else.